when some people in 2025 hear the words organize or unionize, they act like you've stepped out of a time machine from 1917, or like you're planning to bring down civilization, because you dared to say workers deserve dignity. The rich panic. HR departments tremble. And ordinary people, people who are struggling to survive, look at you like you're dangerous, unrealistic, or simply complaining too much. We live in a world where asking for decent housing, a living wage, or even basic human comfort is seen as a sign that you're lazy, entitled, or a loser. A world where the moment someone tries to raise consciousness, tries to help people understand their own reality, they're dismissed as wasting everyone's time. But here's the truth they don't want you to remember. Everything that makes life bearable today was once considered dangerous, radical, or impossible. Before unions, before collective struggle, before revolutions shook the old world, there was no minimum wage. There were no weekends. There were no limits on working hours. People worked until their bodies collapsed, and then worked some more. Children were sent into mines, mills, and factories because they were cheap and small. People lost fingers, lungs, eyes, and lives, and the bosses said that was simply the cost of doing business. So when someone in 2025 rolls their eyes and says, "Unions don't work, revolutions are pointless, organizing is a waste of time," remember, they are sitting in the comfort that unions built, revolutions won, and ordinary people died for. If you like content that tells the truth, if you value stories that center working people and expose the systems shaping our lives, then like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. It helps the message reach more people, and trust me, we need more people awake. Let's get something straight. The world you live in today, your weekends, your breaks, your safety regulations, your right to be paid at all, did not come from the generosity of the wealthy. It is the outcome of centuries of struggle, built by ordinary people who had nothing but their hands, their courage, and each other. That weekend you enjoy? People fought, bled, and in many cases died for that. The 8-hour workday? It wasn't handed out because employers suddenly felt nice. It was won through strikes so massive that governments deployed the National Guard. Just look up the Haymarket Affair, where workers were killed for demanding simply 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours for what we will. The end of child labor? That wasn't a corporate decision. Before unions, children as young as 6 were in coal mines and textile mills, losing fingers, getting lung disease, and dying because they were small enough to fit between machines. It took parents, workers, and organizers to end practices that corporations insisted were necessary for the economy. And the minimum wage? That didn't come from moral enlightenment. It was carved out through decades of worker uprisings, factory shutdowns, and community pressure, especially from Black and immigrant workers who demanded an end to starvation wages. These rights were born from one belief: human beings are worth more than profit margins. A belief the ruling class has always resisted and continues to resist today. Yet today, the same people who benefit from these hard-fought victories look down on the very idea of organizing. They've forgotten the price of their comfort. Or worse, they pretend they never needed collective struggle in the first place. Yes, many unions today are polluted. Some are bureaucratic, slow, compromised, or even cozy with the very corporations they're supposed to challenge. Some leaders have forgotten the workers they serve. Some structures have decayed with time. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The solution is not to abandon unions. The solution is to reclaim them. Because if we walk away, if we leave those structures empty, the ruling class fills the vacuum. And when corporations rule without challenge, they choose the same thing every single time. Profit over people. Profit over dignity. Profit over human needs. Profit over the planet. Real-life proof? Companies like Amazon monitoring workers with wrist scanners and punishing bathroom breaks. Gig workers earning below minimum wage while CEOs become billionaires. Private companies buying water rights and raising prices in towns where people already struggle to survive. Corporations pushing for flexible hours, which really means endless hours without overtime. This is what happens when workers are unorganized. Unions aren't perfect, but abandoning them is like dropping the only shield you have on a battlefield just because it's dented. The answer isn't retreat. The answer is renewal. Worker-led unions, democratic unions, transparent unions, accountable unions. Solidarity that crosses borders, industries, and national lines. Because here's the simple truth. If we don't organize, we surrender. And in a world where rent is rising faster than wages, where corporations own water, land, seeds, and energy, where billionaires grow richer while workers drown in debt, surrender is not an option. The commons must belong to the public, not to those who already own everything. And since we're talking about worker power, let me bring in the words of someone who understood this better than almost anyone in American history. Eugene Victor Debs, a socialist, union leader, and 5-time presidential candidate who was jailed simply for defending workers' right to organize. Debs once said, "If the workers take a notion, they can stop every wheel and every train and every mill in the world. And they can do it without shedding a drop of blood. But the workers don't know their own power. This is the truth the ruling class fears most. Not your anger, not your poverty, not your frustration. What they fear is your organization, your solidarity, your awareness, your refusal to stay silent. Because when workers realize they have more in common with each other than with any billionaire, when they understand that a strike is more powerful than a speech, when they see that their strength comes from unity, that's when history changes. And that's why they fear you organizing. That's why they fear unions. That's why they fear consciousness. Because the moment workers rise together, the world shifts. So the next time someone says organizing is outdated, that unions don't matter, that collective struggle is pointless, just look around your own life. Look at every right you enjoy. Look at every freedom you take for granted. Look at every comfort that didn't exist before ordinary people fought for it. And remember, you are living inside the victories of past revolutions. And the future will be built by the victories we fight for today. If this message resonates with you, subscribe, share, and like this video, because consciousness spreads when we spread it together. Organize, resist, be unbreakable.